This is a true story from a member of our Discord server. He included his actual entry from his journal. The narration and the journal entry don't match up sometimes, as the text that is being read explains more about what happened. September 2018. I think I have my sleep schedule under control now. All it took was the threat of DRB. It's still a small amount of progress. I need to eat less, as well as more healthfully. I'm trying to get on a PT schedule, too. We'll see how successful that endeavor is in due time. For now I'm still studying and working on qualifications. I've been lucky enough to have some really cool training evolutions here so far, and I look forward to seeing what else I can learn from this place and this command. Maybe I'll even get a couple of friends out of it. Something really weird happened on Thursday night, by the way. I went and worked out at the gym, and while I was walking back to my barracks afterwards, saw a trailhead marked Warbler way off of the road a short ways. I'd seen the sign for it plenty of times as I'd ridden the bus after work. I had my camelback and my wallet with me, but nothing else. I'd later regret packing so lightly. I decided to walk the trail until it intersected with another, more established trail. I took this one to my right, following it to an overlook on the hill above the BOQ. There were several boat trailers and the foundations of an old camp there. I turned around and took the trail back the way I came, seeing the trailhead marked Ridgeline Run and obscuring several old magazine/bunker type structures on my way back to the intersection. I passed through the trail's intersection with Warbler Way and followed Ridgeline Run further inland. I was on it for a long time, almost to its end if I had to guess. I passed 2 radio towers and found myself overlooking a soccer field to my right, and the northern edge of a housing development on my left. Both of these sat in separate valleys on either side of this ridgeline trail. At this point the sun was setting and I decided to head back. I noticed an old bunker which was much closer to a reinforced fighting position on the north side of the hill behind me, so I climbed the hill and checked it out. It was really tight due to earth having sloughed off the hill and into it over the years. Once my curiosity was satisfied, I got out of the little bunker and saw that the sun had moved considerably closer to the horizon. I started jogging back along the trail and saw another trail labeled Tarantula Trail going downhill to my right just before the last radio tower I had passed on my to the end of the Ridgeline Run. I headed down the new trail to see if I could back to my barracks a little more quickly. It was getting dark quickly now and the mosquitoes were out in force, so I began to jog at a brisk pace down the hill and towards the road I knew ran along the base of the ridgeline/hill and hopefully the end of the trail. As the terrain flattened out I saw yet another sign for a trail on my left. It looked disused and the sign was faded and worn, but I could still see Breezeway Run printed on it. The trail itself seemed a bit overgrown but serviceable. It also angled away from my current route to the foot of the hill and looked like it led more directly to my barracks. I weighed my options and then took the trail in an effort to make a more direct line for my barracks. After jogging a while along the trail I noticed the light fading from the sky quite rapidly. Usually nighttime is when I'm most comfortable. It makes me listen and look at my surroundings more keenly, and it lets me hide myself more easily. But I didn't get that feeling at all. In the near darkness I didn't feel sheltered or concealed in the slightest. I felt distinctly unalone. I noticed that as I progressed along the trail things had become quieter and quieter. On a trail in the hills of the Pearl of the Antilles, in summer, at night, there should be cicadas buzzing. Small birds and bats should be chirping as they hunt for bugs, and even some critters like banana rats should be foraging in the undergrowth. I heard none of that. In fact, the only things I heard were my own breathing, a slight breeze blowing over the tops of the ridges on either side of the trail. Not wanting to injure myself in the full darkness that had fallen, I slowed down to a calm jog. The trail quickly became densely overgrown, seeming to end in a small clearing enclosed to my left and front by 8 to 10 foot tall cacti. I stopped to look around for a way forward, finding a break in the brush that allowed me to get a glimpse of some street lights and some kind of construction site. Something broke a branch while I looked around and froze. It wasn't some twig snapping as a wild dog made its way around the hills, which I knew because the only population of wild dogs we have here are on the other side of base where people feed them. It definitely wasn't a banana rat scrounging in the brush either. No goddamn banana rat is strong enough to make that much noise. It was the sound of some heavy tree limb or branch being broken by the weight of something much bigger and heavier than me rapidly putting weight on it. I called out to and ordered what I hoped was another hiker to make themselves known. No one answered, and another big branch broke and some leaves were crushed by the same something. I tactically shit myself and assessed that the volume of the breaking and snapping wood sounds, as well as their tone/depth left me with the thing at least my weight if not more. All the scrub in the area consisted of small trees, fallen limbs, and trunks from the same, as well as more really tall cactus. It was still, and deadly quiet. The kind of quiet that comes from a predator stalking part of its territory in which all potential prey items know their best chance of survival is to conceal that they exist. I ran through the break to my right and ran through low brush and tall grass for 100 meters or so at the hardest sprint I had managed since I did track in high school. I got to the end of the brush where it sloped sharply to the base of a fence that ran the perimeter of the construction site of this new office structure or some shit and jumped from the hillside over the fence of the site at full speed. I fell and rolled into a weird, semi-somersault, and got up and ran along the fence of the site towards the street in front of it since I didn't want to lose sight of the street light. I looked back and saw it. It was keeping pace with me on the other side of the fence about 4 of my body lengths away, so think like 20-ish feet. I got the impression of a person pretending to run on their hands and feet. Its skin looked black, or it might have had fur. Its head was elongated, like a dog or coyote. No tail, just big hand-like claws on the ends of long, dark limbs. It was stocky. That was all I got at a glance. I can't forget it. I kept sprinting to the streetlights, seeing that they lit part of the road in front of the base hospital. I could hear it running, too. I ran and sort of tumbled over the fence in front of the construction site. I scanned back to where it was, and it was watching me. I kept looking at it while I scooted back and got up. I kept stepping back until I'd reached the sidewalk and I stepped back into the light cast by a streetlight so I could be seen by cars passing by. A few cars did pass behind me while I stared at this thing. It looked back at me. It even squatted down while I stood there. If I looked away, I'm sure it would have killed me, or at least I was at the time. After we had been there for a while, one of the patrol units pulled up behind me and flashed their code lights. It flinched and turned away, then ran off. The unit rolled down its window, and one of my acquaintances from work called me over. I turned, keeping the spot the thing had last been visible at in view as long as possible. I said I'd just been resting during a run. They talked with me and then left. I fucking booked it the last half mile to my barracks. I told my roommate, and sort of told another friend. I think they thought I was bullshitting. I showered and went to bed. And that's how I spent Thursday evening. Yesterday and today have been uneventful. I told my dad about it. I don't know if he believes me, but he might. This place is weird. I like it here.